We'll go back to the Logan training spot just so I can show you some of the corp-wide settings. We were under settings, and we just did one little piece on look and feel. You can say, hey, which pieces do you want to be assigned? You can actually assign different pieces if you want, and it gives you different features. Okay. You can also go back to what's your payroll settings, what's your overtime cap, what's your this. Do you want to set up your state unemployment, your SUDA stuff, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to just go ahead and go back to this page, and we'll hit on corp-wide settings. Okay. So when I was telling you originally how we had all of these individual little pieces, well, Colorado had 5 locations. Texas had 3 locations when we started. Okay. And so all of a sudden it was like, Colorado has all these different tax settings. How am I going to record that? Texas has completely different ones. And then we started getting it clear to the payroll levels. Oh my goodness. Guess what? Colorado has this state tax, and this one has this state tax. And how are we going to but it was almost individual custom code because it was individual worlds. So what we did is we're like, oh goodness, settings and permissions. Let's start mixing this thing up a little bit. Here's just some settings that you can do out of the box to customize your own little world. Okay, and where we're headed with this is even to that API level. Like, this might look like a lot of settings. What if I said that we were planning on doubling this and giving personal settings? And
when you talk about separate entities, there could be no end to what the desires could be.
Well, what we want to do is kind of make it as easy as we can. So it's kind of like, hey, if you want to run right out of the box, guess what? We've already designed all the pages, all the flow, all the programs, all of this. You don't even need a coder. All you need is probably a tech or somebody who's going to do some consulting who's going to say, what's your business? What do you do? How do you use this? Oh, it looks like you're only going to be using customers and maybe elements of time. Looks like you have customers and you're going to do some scheduling. Are you going to do any invoicing? Yeah, we actually have this specialized program. Okay, cool, cool. Like, all of a sudden, you tweak a couple settings, you do a little bit of training, and all of a sudden, they're running on Adilas using 2 out of the 50 pieces or whatever it might be. So they're happy. So like, we're going to try to, I'm going to stick with small businesses. Instead of trying to going out after monsters, we've actually had people who are like, dude, you guys need to be, competing against SAP and Oracle and all this kind of stuff. Whoa. You know what? I would much rather deal with mom and pop who has the availability to be like, yeah, I want to do this and I want to change. Okay, cool. That'd be $100 and create that little custom interface. Sweet, $100, let's play. Rather than like, okay, this is a $5 million product that we're going to put on your thing. We're going to have a staff on site for like, you're playing major red tape. You're breaking against major tradition. You're doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's like us switching to this new Gensbar system in Bridgerland. It's taken us 8 years because of all the red tape and the problems and the people digging their heels into the ground. And I go, by the time I retire, we'll probably have a system. It's crazy. I think small, mid-size makes a lot of sense.
Small, mid-size is where we want to stay.
People who don't have a set system.
Look at how we can offer enterprise tools to them to be like, oh my goodness, like I couldn't have afforded a system that had all these different tools and features because it would have been hundreds of thousands or millions.
They can't, and they don't know how to use it. I mean, there's still so many small businesses using paper pencil almost. It's almost amazing. They use Excel, but they use 1% yes.
Yep. So this is a different.
Definitely your market.
I'd say that's our market right now. Okay. So here's some settings. It just starts saying, what do you want to call your entity? Okay, it could be a partnership, a business, a project, an LLC, whatever. I have the default as corporation. The reason I added CW is just for training. So anytime you see the word CW, you think, oh, I could probably change that. Like, it's just for training. Like the default actually doesn't even have CW in there, but it just kind of allows you to do it. What do you want to call your locations? Is it a facility, an office, a station, a warehouse, a state, a job, a virtual department? Like, what do you want to call that location area? Like, once again, we're almost starting way up here at this level. What do you want to call your world? Is it a corporation, or is it just a single little LLC partnership, or is it just a mom and pop little entity? Whatever it is, what's your world going to be called? What's your general location? What did you name them? What do you want to kind of call these little locations and that location groups? Okay, you can come down. What do you want to call the people who actually interact with your customers? Are they associates and agents and representatives or dealers or, whatever. Like we call it salesperson. That's the default because we came from the car industry, right? But watch this. If I'm actually dealing with a clinician type thing, I might be a technician or a doctor or a physician or what's the interaction? Watch this. This salesperson, say they're dealing with a customer and salesperson. You can see how those kind of relate. But what if you went student-teacher? Those relate really well. And you can literally run this whole thing under a virtual thing, okay? So you could be a teacher, which is the same as saying a salesperson, or kind of somebody that has internal administration controls, and then your students are somebody that's coming to you looking for something, okay? And you're technically selling them a service, even though it may not transact in money. But you could set up you just have to realize that you can play the game of, we call it this right here, okay? We call it this. Smoke and mirrors. It's a magician's trick, okay? So basically,
I mean, that makes sense. That's just as good. I mean, doctors, patients, so you.
Oh yeah. Yep. So these are just little settings that you can do, okay? You come down to your customers. Customers have a whole bunch of them. Like all of this right here is all customer stuff from here up to here-ish. This is all customers, okay? What do you want to call your customers? It's like patients, it could be students, clients, whatever. What are they? Doesn't matter. You can come down, you have a number of fields that you can actually name. For instance, we have one called the customer tax ID, that's its default. But what if you wanted to track something specific about a customer? Say they had a special VIP login card number or some sort of magic number that let them in or whatever it is. You could just name the field and then we'll record it and then you're able to search it, and every single time you add a customer, it actually would come up with that particular name of whatever it was. Hey, what's your password? What's your, you could literally do whatever you wanted to. Even for e-commerce login, this is one of the fields that we allow. We have multiple fields that will allow you to choose from. Out of these 15 fields, how do you want to do the login? Is it by ID, email, last name, zip, the tax ID, which is basically this one that could be dynamic. So you could even say, I'm going to create this one called user password. They're going to enter an email, and I'm going to have them set up their own little password, and all of a sudden they're going to log in, and then they're in the back end through the e-commerce, interacting through a non-secured environment, but they're secured just through a login, but it's virtually, here's the world, but it's almost like this teleport. It's a VPN into the using web and e-commerce. You have multiple dates. Like by default, we have start date, end date, membership date, and membership expiration date, but you can change them to whatever dates you want. It's on the customer side, okay? You can set your terms. Is it cash? Is it net? 210 net 30. Whatever. What are your terms? It basically kind of just throws it into the customer stuff. On the queue, do you want to use it? Yes or no? What do you want to name it? How often do you want it to clean itself up? You have tons and tons of options on the queue. Okay, naming your invoices, customer invoices. We could change this in a heartbeat. Like instead of customer invoices, why don't you call it patient invoice? Why don't you call it bill? Why don't you call it, whatever you wanted to call it, okay? You could technically create a bunch of names. We have a thing called transition invoices. We haven't even played in there yet at all. A transition invoice is something like this: work orders, held inventory, prepaid, layaway, work in progress. Like all of a sudden there's an element of time that deals with those kind of invoices. So they start, and then they're kind of in this quasi/building mode, but it's really an invoice, but you really don't want it to show up for taxes and for accounts receivables yet until it physically gets closed. So that's called a transition invoice. But the reason you named it that was kind of like, instead of naming it, oh, here's your layaway invoices. Oh, here's your work in progress invoice. Oh, here's your prepaid invoices. Like say somebody had actually done something and they prepaid it, but you didn't want it to actually show up until this point in time, like on your, but you have to track all these payments coming in. We map everything to the balance sheet, we do all that kind of stuff. But those are transitional invoices.
So instead of prepaid accounts, that's good.
Yep. So basically it just runs it just in flow. It's very, very easy. It deals with permissions and stuff like that.
It's just a new way of thinking.
Well, the reason that we do these permissions and settings, Madeline, is look how much flexibility we have even out of the box. We haven't even gone to the level we want to go to yet. But instead of saying Corporation A, and I'm going to build you your own custom item, and Corporation B, we actually start doing this thing that they call platform, okay? So a platform means you can build without having to redesign the whole infrastructure. So we call it permissions and settings. And literally, this is the foundation of Adilas. So it's kind of fun how some of these things work. I'm not trying to bore you here, but are you okay if we just kind of keep popping down through these? Or?
This is really helpful to see what can be altered and changed.
Oh yeah, yeah, it really can. Tons of different stuff. If you want the quick version, you go on this side and you just kind of read down. We're dealing with invoices now, okay? Which there's probably 30 pieces that I can tweak on an invoice, okay? Watch this. Starting from here, maybe at 17, invoice, 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 checkout, checkout, cart, barcodes. These are all kind of invoices. Okay, stop. Okay. There's like 17 pieces that I can tweak just on invoices alone, okay? So you can say, what do you want to name some of your stuff? Do you want to show signatures on the menu, the limit? Do you want to show a second signature? If you don't want to call it signature, maybe you could call it the witness line or the initial here or whatever, whatever, whatever. You know, like it's just basically it's pre-coded stuff that says, what do you want to call it? And I'll show a line. You know, what do you want to call it? And I'll show a line.
You could take somebody's paper documents they're already working with, and you can align it so that their brains don't scream, saying you have to jump all of these changes at once. You give them as close as you can to what they have, knowing that you full well could convince them or work them into better practices, best practices with a little bit of counseling. A lot of people don't jump really immediately. They want things similar to what they have. If you can provide that, they're probably more willing to make the jump.
For sure. I'm going to take you to something that's going to show you, and it's once again kind of just the dynamics of the system. But I'm going to take you to a little flyer that we were looking at yesterday called System Players, and I was showing you the plates and cups. Guess what one of the cups is, Madeline, as far as custom look and feel for documents? Okay, so what if we actually said this? So you were saying, oh, I can see how you can see this perfect document that they already have. What if they can get that, or we can create it into a PDF, and then I can populate it, and I can tie it just to your corporation? So anytime you pull an invoice,
so you could take a pre-design,
anything you can possibly think of. And guess why we have to do this? We started in the automobile industry. Guess how much paperwork they have? Oh my goodness! Like, you have to go in and be like, okay, here's a like, I'm going to jump out of this for just a second, okay, to kind of show you.
So you didn't generally recreate paper documents for that. You took what they had.
So most states have a standard document, okay? We'll take a state document, we'll strip everything out of it other than just the outlines and just their verbiage. We don't want any of their fields. We put in our own fields, and then we talk to them in the back end through basically, we virtually take a PDF and we pump data into a PDF or an Excel file or a whatever. Like we can match any specific formula, and so all of a sudden you can have custom documents that are specific to a certain person.
Yeah, that's you have to, because they're working with, even though they're dumb documents, they're the ones that are required at whatever level they have to submit.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
That's great.
So anyway, we could jump into that later, but imagine that you can literally do one of the physical pieces is custom documents, okay? So what we do is we figure out the need. Say I'm an automotive dealership and I have to have a certain page that looks like this, otherwise the bank won't accept it. They won't accept the Adilas invoice. Piece of cake, $100 a document. Like we literally almost quoted at that, unless it's a crazy way, multi-page stuff like this. But if they want to say, hey, I need a custom document, we say, $100 a document, no problem, we'll do it, we'll wire it all up, you'll check it out, and then we'll bill you for $100. Like, how many do I, oh, I need 5 custom documents. Okay, that's $500. Bum, 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 bum. It might take us a little bit longer than that, but we gain that customer because all of a sudden we're able to give that custom piece to them.
Absolutely.
Okay, all of a sudden, not only did we give them a look and feel, we gave them exactly what, we have a banking entity, some of their custom documents are literally legal documents. So they get the customer, and they get to this, and they click on this one little link that says paperwork, and then they select the document they want. So we pull all of the customer information, all of the invoice information, and we preload all of these fields. They still have to fill out probably about 10 or so fields or so because we're not catching all of that data, but I can pre-populate 20 of their fields, and so instead of them having to go, oh man, I have to do this, they have to populate 10 that's custom according to like, okay, this is actually here. And if we wanted to, we could map to that, but they just haven't showed us where that data is at. So we can tweak it out pretty easy that way. We were just talking about signature lines, and that kind of spun us off on a little thing. We have multiple verbiage lines on the bottom of our invoices. Each one of these little fields are 150 characters, so you could be something like this. We are not responsible for vehicles, or like say riders under 16. Say it's ATVs or something like that, okay? Or maybe you're a doctor. Warning, this is only prescribed for the person who is doing it. Or like these are small little warnings. You have 3 little warning spots that you can do. If you need more, this is unlimited, and you can actually add your own custom verbiage. You can make it standalone or inline. Okay, so inline, if I said inline and I started and I was adding HTML break tags and links or extra lines with small little sign here, here's a paragraph. Sign here, here's a paragraph. You could do that whole thing right here. Okay, you don't even have to ask for a custom document if you want it that way. Or you could say, you know what, instead of inline, standalone, I'll only ask for it when I need it, but I need this special little piece. It's almost similar to that custom paperwork, but the custom paperwork, we physically get a real live document, and then we play according to that. So you can come down to all sorts of stuff. When you actually check out, which invoice type do you want? When we first started, we had the little mini version, okay? You're like, I don't know if I really want the little mini version. We flipped it to this, So like, this is when you're doing checkout of your cart. This is a special field. It's currently called customer PO number, but it's a special field and it'll show up at the top of your invoice, but you could technically call it tracking number, requisition, account number, job number, etc., etc. It's a special way of subcategorizing things according to invoices.
He doesn't use the term invoice. So.
Yeah, or PO, or customer PO or something. But literally, it's some sort of special call-out. Say you have,
just like that lease rental place, you customize that one.
Correct.
What they needed to do.
Yep. So you could even, on the top of any invoice that they came in, what's your room number? So like, you can have it assigned to a customer or whatever, but all of a sudden you can assign it to this room number through this custom PO number. You just rename it. You literally would go like this, room number. And so every invoice that got created, you could say, what's your room number? Or can I see your passkey or whatever it was? And they flip your passkey and it says 977 on it or something like that. And all of a sudden, if they wanted to search for how many invoices did I do to room number 977, I might have done it to multiple customers. Say there's all sorts of different pieces, or maybe it's all just counter sales, but then I'm just tying it to a simple room number. Like I don't care if you're Tom or Fred or Jill, which room number are you and can you prove it? Okay, 977, sweet. So it's almost like a virtual little kind of a dummy thing, but we call it customer PO because that's where it initially came. Like some of these guys, Trinity Fasteners, once again, okay? So they're doing all this stuff and they want their people to like let them know what's going on. And they're like, here's my PO number. And I want to be able to track this by my PO number. When I get your ticket that has all my items, I want to see bold and center. This comes from PO number 7786, whatever their external number was, but they needed to track it inside of Adilas so that when we gave them an invoice, it gave them to that. And we're like, heck, let's just name it. Like a lot of the things that we do, we kind of go overkill in some ways. And when I say overkill, is we're like, okay, they need that. Would somebody else possibly need that? What might they need? Like we try to think just a couple layers deeper, and all of a sudden we're corp-wide setting. Do you want to use it? Yes or no? Let's let you name it. Then you can search it if you do use it. If not, thanks. Hidden, behind the scenes. You don't even know it's there. So we try to play in settings because that allows us to flow without actually reconstructing the whole thing.
And they're very understandable.
Well,
I see.
Yeah, and there's. I know you're a technical writer and stuff like this, but you might get a kick out of this. Guess what? This is a page and it has all of this verbiage and writing. Did you know that this page has its own help file as well that goes even deeper?
Well, you guys I'm not ceasing to be amazed at anything. But basically, Atlas has every thought almost that you guys have generated in the last 10 years. It's all there.
Correct.
And you've documented it all.
It looks a little archaic and stuff.
Yeah, but that's okay, you know, because you've got it all there. It's accessible, and it's accessible to every one of you if you need it. It's not in anybody's file. You don't have double copies of everything. I mean, you've got just information available.
The challenge,
all of it, so much that it's crazy, and yet I don't have to see that. Because see, I look at my own little thing, the MH5, and I go, okay, we'll set up the MH5 layer, but I can see the playing players now. I want to play in a, you know, as a teacher, I want to play as all these people and say, what would I set up?
Sure.
What would you do for these folks? But crazy.
Well, Madeline,
your head's too big.
I still fit through the door.
And it's not in a bad. You just have got to have. I mean, you know this inside and out.
Well, what happens was we created these original pieces, and they were industry specific. It's very good because you have a goal and a need.
Right.
What
you have to get there first.
What happened was is we started breaking these models because we had all of these independent worlds. We had to do independent code. We were like, how in the world can we fix this? Because this is terrible. I hate this because I have one little change, and now all of a sudden I have to test it here, and possibly with this permission, test it here, possibly with this and this and this. Like I had to virtually log in as all these other people and test. Like, okay, there's got to be a better way. So what we did is we started thinking more about dynamic level. We're like, well, what if we just called it a setting and we looked it up versus like, and then we code according to the settings. Hey, if you're A, you get to play this way. If you're B, you get to play this way. And then all of a sudden we're like, let the people decide what they want to do.
That's the really bizarre part of your programming because that is not the way software generally works. Correct? I use bizarre in a kind way.
Yeah.
I'm saying most people don't program that way.
Well, most people have a, here's what I see on programming. There are thousands of software pieces out there. What they do is they find a niche need or something.
They fit that need.
They fit that need, and then that's kind of the end of their program. And what we did is we weren't planning on going this way. It's just slowly developed this way. We literally were just doing dealer-oriented stuff at first. But guess what? So many people gained from this. That one in Belize where you saw where they were tracking the foundation and you saw progress and all these invoices of tubes and this kind of stuff, they're using a stock unit that technically we designed for a vehicle or a trailer and then possibly an internal parts department saying, I better put a new bumper on that car because I got it from auction and it needed a new bumper and a new windshield and a new this. Like we were pulling things this way, but all of a sudden we're like, wow, if we expand this, we could say, why don't you do this and this and this and this? So like, there's every single piece that we have inside of Adilas almost has a customer assigned behind it saying, I need this kind of a feature. Can you give me this? Can you give me this? So what we would do is we literally, people would start using our product and they're like, wow, sweet, this has 75% of exactly what I need. And they would start working on it and they'd get, you know, if you just did this, like literally over 50% of Adilas comes from ideas and input and suggestions and even people paying for it. They'll be like, how much would you charge me to do this? Oh, that'd be easy. That's probably like $500. Came on, you know. So basically, they don't own any of that code. It's not custom. What we do is we roll it into a new setting, a new permission, and then all of a sudden it's digestible to those other people. And if somebody doesn't want it, they never even have to look at it. Okay, we've spent 2 days. We haven't touched expenses, elements of time. We haven't touched FlexGrid. We haven't touched anything. So it basically allows you to kind of hide some of these things, but if you need it, it's right there. So that's how we stack and blend some of the pieces.